Okay. Oh my gosh. Come on. Kick it on. Get it going. Make it happen. Where is it? Find it now. Ah, la 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 la. Yes, there it is. Knew it would be somewhere. Found it. Just gonna make sure everything is working correctly and we will rock on. Oh my gosh, I'm watching ads again. How does that happen? I'm not supposed to be watching the ads. Oh my gosh. Okay, alright, sorry about that. Just checking just to make sure everything is working correctly. Last time it was giving me trouble. How's it going, Smash Bro 99? Minis vid? The best kind of vid. Well, you've got no idea what I stuck on my table, man. You've got completely bananas. But anyway, that's beside the point. I'm just making sure everything is correct before we rock into this. We'll do the transition screen back again to there, and we will start showing some stuff off in a second. So, like many things that I do, sometimes I just decide to do something really bizarre, and this is one of those days. So, let's start. Hi, welcome to How to D&D. My name is Fred Wheeler, and as it happens, I'm not just going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons. I'm going to show you a whole lot of Dungeons & Dragons miniatures. This is right back. Some of these are really old, some of these are a lot newer, and I've gone through and I've picked sort of select ones that I like. Everything is at least large size or bigger, and some of them are pretty cool, some of them are not so cool, some are pretty average, but I thought we'd work our way through here, and by all means chat away and let me know what you think. So we will start because I don't want to muck around anymore. So I'm going to start off with the first one that I've got here. And this thing is a blue dragon. It's actually an adult, elder blue dragon, not just adult, but an elder blue dragon. I've used this in a few videos, and it's been one of my pet favorites. When I need to use a dragon, this is the one that I tend to use, and I pull it out all the time. It's really cool. Okay, starting from the far end of my desk. Next we have the Terror Bird. This is like a Pathfinder miniature. It's like a bird with a really strong beak, and it looks a little bit like, not quite like an ostrich. I actually think it's more like one of those prehistoric birds that you used to get. This is really cool. I've enjoyed using this a number of times, and as you can see, he's very pink. He's got a pink front, but yeah, really nice video, nice miniature. This is one of my favorites. You got to have a hooked horror. This is a really old hooked horror. I got this when I was, I think, version 3 of Dungeons & Dragons, and as you can see, he's got some pretty big hooks on him, waving around. I wouldn't say necessarily a fantastic paint job, but yeah, awesome. And it's actually it is super hard to get yourself a hooked horror for Dungeons & Dragons if you want a miniature. It's really, really hard to find these things. And I've got one. That's it. Okay, next I have the Dire Bear Mauler. I believe this came from Dungeons & Dragons box, probably about version 3. And yes, he's basically just a bear that stands up with a few spiky bits on him. And on top of that, he just looks like a bear that stands on 2 feet. But yeah, pretty cool. I've used it a couple of times as well. This is one that I have had trouble finding additional miniatures of. And this is the Green Vise Vine. It's basically Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors. Okay, it is a plant that will eat you. And I haven't been able to find very many of these sorts of things. I got this quite a long time ago. I don't remember whether it's a Pathfinder or Dungeons & Dragons miniature, but I do know that I've enjoyed having it and using it a couple of times. I just wish I had more. Pretty cool. Okay, the Gorillion. This is a fiendish Gorillion, and recently they did a new Gorillion for Dungeons & Dragons, which I didn't like. I actually think this is a much better one. I've got about 2 of these. It's got 4 arms. It's basically a big ape, and it likes to bash things. So yeah, not a bad miniature. It's pretty good. I've enjoyed using this a couple of times. And my players, the problem with the Gorillion is my players always assume it's just an ape when it's not just an ape. It's a bit more than that. So great miniature, had a lot of fun with that. And next we have, I haven't pulled this out for a long time, a Werewolf Lord. Yes, I'm serious. I actually have a werewolf lord. It stands larger than most of my large miniatures, and I've used this in a game where I think I was using one of the gods from from Norway. That's right, Norway, and I decided I would utilize this, and I was running a campaign with a lot of werewolves, and this showed up and made an absolute mess of the party. It was fantastic. I haven't been able to use it ever since, but I certainly would like to. Cool miniature though. Alright, that is the werewolf lord. Okay, next we have an aboleth. This is a slime mage aboleth. Another really hard miniature to find is the aboleth. Something that is basically a giant fish that likes to control things and turns humanoids into scum creatures that it can control. Quite cool. Not a fantastic paint job, but I'm not going to complain because it's the only one I've ever been able to find. And as you can see, it's a pretty simple design. I honestly think we could easily make one of these things if I needed to. Alright, moving on. Oh, the bullet. The bullet. Now this isn't the tiny little bullet that they printed and produced not so long ago. This is much larger. This thing is actually huge size, which is what size I think the bullet should be. If you're going to have a bullet, make it large. So it's not a bad piece of work. You can see it's got a lot of metallic paint on it, and it when you put light on it, it shades it slightly differently. You get a different effect depending on where you are. The colours change, which I thought was really, really nice. Yes, so I've used him more than a few times, along with the little pet baby ones that I have as well. So the bullet, the land shark. We'll get the bullet out of the way. And this is a really weird one. Never been able to find another one. This is a large chaos beast. It doesn't look like much. Think Hellboy and that strange creature that started coming out of, what was his name? The bad guy. Basically, this thing is just weird. It's got eyeballs in the wrong places, tentacles coming out of mouths, and it's generally just ugly. Doesn't look that great. You want something as a comparison, just for comparison. Can you put a medium size? You know, I probably can do that. I do actually have some miniatures around. I will grab something and put it beside it. Ta-da! There you go. That is a medium-sized miniature. This is actually a Star Wars miniature, which was I think it was some sort of whip that was made out of energy, and my brother turned it into a Dungeons and Dragons miniature and painted some relief on it. So that'll give you an idea of scale for those of you who wanted to know how big it is. Yes. Good. Smash Bro 99 is happy. Right, good. We got the scale right. So for those of you who are wondering in terms of the scale, the bullet, there's the bullet, there's the meal, okay? And don't you worry, role play movies, I have beholders. There's beholders coming. Lots and lots of them. And they're going to get progressively larger as we go. All right, let's pull this thing out of the way. Okay, one of my favorites, the Hydra. Do you know how hard it is to actually get a Hydra? Oh my gosh. This is the only one. No, this is the second one I've ever got. The other one was actually made out of metal, and unfortunately it sort of broke on me, and therefore I don't have it anymore. But this one was pretty cool, and I've wanted to make myself a Hydra for a very long time. What is it? It's like a snake with a whole lot of little heads. Can't be that hard to make, right? Well, I did try making one out of plasticine as a mock-up, and oh my gosh, it actually is a lot harder than it looks. But yes, that is my Hydra. It doesn't have 5 heads. This one only has 4 heads, but I believe this is a Dungeons and Dragons miniature as well. Okay, all right, we're moving on to, here we go, the Talon Slade. Slard. So it's basically a sort of like a demonic froggy creature that does lots of horrible things to you and inseminates you with its nasty tadpoles, and you wind up birthing them. Yes. I've got a couple of Slad, but not a lot. They're actually another pretty hard miniature to find, as it happens. I didn't find it very easy to pick up. This is quite an old miniature. It hasn't been printed recently. Okay, next here is Caller in Darkness. Caller in Darkness is like think a whole lot of strange ghostly heads all screaming and doing all sorts of horrible things, and it's just pouring out of the ground. That's essentially what the caller is, and it's sort of translucent, really icky. I've put this on the table. It's not a particular, it's just large size, but my players, what they have done is they're usually freaked out. As soon as I put this down, they're like, what is that? What is that? And I say, that is what you're going to have to deal with. Okay, alright, what do we got next? Role-play movies. I don't know how to do this, but it's cool. What's your biggest monster? My biggest monster has got to be... it's a toss-up between the Rancor and Orcus. Orcus is in my desk. Okay, let's go for a beholder. This is just a large-sized beholder. And this thing I bought a long time ago with a whole bunch of others. I think it came in a set of like 6. I've kept it obviously because beholders are hard to get. They're not something they print very often, and they're usually priced and quite expensive too, which is a real drag. I don't like the fact that the beholder is such a difficult miniature to get. And we actually made one not so long ago. We actually made our own beholder, and anybody could do it. It's not that hard. Okay, this one is Pathfinder Kumat. No, it's not Pathfinder, it's Wizards of the Coast. It's Kumat. Kumat is like a standing crocodile creature, basically. That's what it is. And he will bite your head off, tear you apart, and he will enjoy it. You are just an entree to this thing. Arr, there he is. That's him. Quite nice. I haven't used it too much though. Okay, how's it going, Joseph? I'm doing something silly today. I just thought I would. That's what happens sometimes with me. Next is the Phase Web Spider. Phase Web Spider, another miniature that's really hard to find as it happens. And this thing, I've got a bunch of them, so I can use them. So they sort of like teleport in and out, so they attack and then teleport away, which is really cool. It makes them really difficult. And it scares the players because they don't know what to do. They think it's invisible, but it's not, It's actually gone somewhere else. And then it just comes back again and attacks. There we go. It's Phase Spider. And we'll put Phase Spider over here. And this is a really old hill giant, which means it's not quite as large as the Dungeons & Dragons 5e has expressed them to be. I think I got this way back, probably 3rd edition, out of some of the boxes that were available at the time. I don't know if I can necessarily... I'll just give you a decent view of the side and the front. Just stay still, I'll club you. There he is. And I like this miniature. So I actually think I prefer this one to the larger one, even though if this was larger, I'd be probably quite happy with it too. So that is the Hill Giant that I have. Rather old one. What's that? Role play movies. Do you have a Gravestorm Dracolich from Ravenloft? I have a Dracolich. Don't you worry. The Dracolich. We're not too far from Dracolich as it happens. This is an Oni Night Haunter. So an Oni Night Haunter. Oni Mage, no, but this is an Oni Night Haunter. This I haven't used that much. I think I've got about 2 of them, and I just haven't found the right adventure to put them into to challenge my players. Quite a cool... I don't know that I like the fact that he's got yellow pants. I mean, it could have gone worse. It could have been he's got himself purple pants like the Hulk, but no. And white hair. Weird creature. There we go. Okay, next. I'm going to put this in... This is actually not a Dungeons & Dragons miniature, but I actually think it's one of the best ones I've seen. This is a white spider, a knobby white spider. This thing here, I've got a bunch of these, more than one, and I've used these a few times, and they make great stand-ins for the giant spider, and they spit out bunches and bunches of eggs. As you can see, it looks really its body doesn't... I mean, sometimes just touching it feels like it's a bad idea. But yes, very cool looking spider, multiple eyes, looks very alien. Okay, let's go for another beholder. Here we go. Over here I've got, this thing is a little bit translucent, got a bunch of eyes. This came with a set which I got with about 6 in total, and it's called a Eye of Shadow. So apparently it's got, it wears eyeshadow. No, I'm only kidding, it doesn't wear eyeshadow. But yeah, it's apparently a shadow beholder of some kind. And I'm pretty sure I used to have an undead beholder at one point, but currently I don't have it. I don't know where it's gone to. I was struggling to find it. So beholders. I told you they're beholders. Okay, now I'm going to move on to a larger one, just to make sure that you realise I have far too many miniatures. Wallop. Now, you can't see it very clearly from here. And this thing is a beholder ultimate tyrant. The ultimate tyrant. This is quite an old miniature. I picked this up when we were playing Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 and 3, and yes, it's a nice miniature. I wouldn't say it's necessarily as good as the one that they've recently printed, but I mean, the problem is those ones are so expensive. I didn't have to pay anywhere near as much for this. This was a lot cheaper. I think you bought this and you got a bunch of other miniatures as well. And this is huge size. Huge! Yeah. I like beholders because they can stay out of range and they just blast things from a distance. Okay, it's time for the Dracolich. This is an undead dragon, and this is the largest one I have. I believe I have a flying one as well. I've got a bunch. I had like a whole bunch of small ones. This is huge size. I have some large ones as well. And we were playing Vault of the Dracolich, and I had to produce something for them to use, and I felt like I definitely need to make sure I have a whole bunch of Dracoliches. So I went and got a whole bunch of Dracoliches, and I have many, many Dracoliches. And this is my largest one. Say hello to Fido. Okay, moving on. Cypher Strife. Beholders are awesome. Yes, you are right. This is the Feymire crocodile. Doesn't seem like much, but I've used this huge size crocodile more than a few times. I don't know what it is. I always like the idea, if there's water, I feel like I need to put a crocodile in there. And as you can see, she will fit nicely. Yeah, right there. Really nice. And it's got little things on the back of it, like lily pads and weeds and stuff to hide it. So, cool miniature. And I've only ever been able to get one of these, unfortunately. Okay, next, moving on. Now we get into weird stuff. This is a demon toad, and it's done for Paizo or Pathfinder. I've used this before in my game, and you wouldn't believe the shock my players had when this thing showed up, and they're like, "Whoa, he's really muscly. What is that?" This is a demon toad, and it's a weird looking monster. It seems more. I was thinking. It seems more like it's been beefed up to look a little bit like the Hulk or Abomination. Do you think like Abomination? It's got a range of colours on it, as you can see. Yep. Had a lot of fun with that, and it used to hop everywhere, cause them all sorts of trouble. Okay, next I've got a wyvern. Wyvern? Is it a wyvern, a waven, or a weaven? It's one of those. Basically flying creature, and it's blue, and this is probably one of the best ones that I've picked up. I like the fact that you can actually read what it is underneath too. That is a product of Pathfinder actually doing their job properly and printing it, rather than tiny little writing that you can't read and it's not marked with white, so you can't figure out what the heck it is. So that is my wyvern, and yeah, he's wily. Moving on. Okay. Ooh, and you've got to have the huge fiendish spider. Urgh. This is much more impressive than just a giant spider. Who wants a giant spider? Wyvern. Love that one. Yes, I like it too. So this is my huge fiendish spider. I've used this a few times. I think I stuck it on the table once, and what do you know? The player said, "Is that real? I don't really like spiders. Can you take it off?" It is a really nasty piece of work. I just don't have a stat block. You have to make your own stat block for Dungeons & Dragons 5e, because there isn't one. How's it going, Jack? Okay, Cypher Strife. Dragons are also called worms. Yes, they are. Okay, role play movies. Well, have a good, nice day. I don't know. Right, someone's disappearing. That's fine with me. It's all right. This will be around later on. So we'll move that on. Now we're getting into some really odd things. And Jack, you might like this. This is called a Goristro, and this is like a fiendish, demonic minotaur. That's essentially what it is. It's got big horns. I got this a long time ago. It's quite a nice miniature. I haven't been able to use it that often. It's huge size, so it's pretty intimidating for the players to deal with. As you can see, you've got little horns sticking out of his head, and big ones, and little rings. He's all dressed up. He's got bling. This thing's got bling. Lots of bling. Now, here we go. Thank you, Roleplay Movies. I'm glad you liked my video. Okay, next is the owlbear. The owlbear. Now, I've got a bunch of owlbears, but this, I think, is probably the best one that I've picked up so far. And this is Wizards of the Coast. Put out not that long ago. I think I did a video using it. I think I've got maybe 2 of these in total. And you can't go wrong with an owlbear. But what's better than one owlbear is always 2 owlbears. I feel like they should always be travelling in groups of 2, at least. That's just my opinion anyway. Okay, next we have, this is the Nalfishian Tyrant. This is like a demon. Big horn, big tusks on it, tiny wings. It's like the bumblebee. It doesn't look like it should actually fly, but apparently it does. And it's just covered in veiny muscle that's all taut and constricted and spiky bits. It's got a long tail, and I believe those are hooves. Exactly what you would expect from some sort of demon. He looks like he's rolling his eyes, a little bit like, you know how Princess Diana used to roll her eyes? It's a little bit like that. Yeah. Okay. I always liked Princess Diana, so don't think that I'm giving her a hard time, because it's definitely not the case. Okay, next we have the chain golem, and I have about 4 of these, maybe even 5. You know what I like about the chain golem is it just starts off as a pile of chains, and then the next thing it is just hitting everything, and can do it from range because it can throw out those chains and smash things to pieces. This is huge size, really good miniature. I haven't actually used it in any of my I don't think I've used it in any of my videos so far, but quite an old miniature, been around a long time. I think they were selling them cheap at one point, but I doubt they are now. Now, a few of you have probably already seen my Baylor, and this is definitely 3.5 or version 3 of the game. Came out many years ago, and you got them in a pack, one huge miniature, and all the rest were sort of smaller sizes. Nice. I mean, it's like thinking Lord of the Rings, and you shall not pass. That's exactly what this thing is. I don't know if I call that a flaming sword because it's white. Maybe it's just so hot that's why it's gone white. Pretty cool miniature, big wings, and yeah, scary. I think what would be worse is 2 of these. Put 2 of these down on the table and see how your players respond. Okay, I've got a feral minotaur. It's a little bit smaller. It's only large size. Still a cool miniature. It's sort of it's like its horns have gone completely out of control, and it hasn't decided to sort of clip it. It doesn't have any nail clippers or something like that. Or should I horn clippers? Yeah, pretty cool miniature. Really quite an old miniature too. Been around with me for ages. I've used it a couple of times, and yes, very, very helpful. Minotaurs the right size are always hard to find. Okay, now I've used this. I think I've done a review on it, and this is the Trent. And it's got a base that's gargantuan rather than huge, which doesn't seem to make sense. I realise that, but I think this is one of the best Trents I've ever seen come out. It's a decent size, it's really impressive, it's got a good solid base on it, and I actually thought this was one of the best miniatures I'd seen put out when Icons of the Realms was released. And I thought I'd put that out and show you today. Okay, now we're on to Fire Giants. Fire Giants. Now this is the older Fire Giants rather than the new Storm King's Thunder miniature line. It just got a sword. He looks, actually it reminds me of one of those fire dwarves. It's an Azar, something like that. And big spikes on his shoulders. This is just large size, so it's not a particularly large giant for giants. But yeah, still a cool miniature. Probably my favourite out of the older fire giants is the Fire Giant King, which is this one here. As you can see, he's got himself a flaming axe. He looks like he's ready. The cape is telling you everything. I like the fact that it's got all of the scales on the back. You know, it's got that textured look. None of the paint jobs for some of these are particularly fantastic. Remember, some of these are quite old. They've been around a long time. And his head is sort of translucent. So it's almost as if his head is made of fire, which is what I like the most about this particular thing. The colour scheme on his armour is a little bit weird. Yeah. Okay. Alright. Let's go on to a Storm Titan. One of my favourite Titan miniatures. And this thing is wielding or controlling lightning. You can see all of the energy flying around him. He's actually got the lightning bolt in his hands and he's ready to hurl it. Makes me think of Zeus from Greek mythology. Zeus's hair. Pretty cool. I like this miniature a lot. And I've used it more than a few times. Always got to use it with something that's flying. Flying castle, stick this thing in there. Alright. I don't know that many people know about this one. The Blue Spawn God Slayer. So this thing kills gods. So it's not only got a very large sword for killing any kind of god, but it also has, if you can tell, it's got a shield that's made out of the skull of some sort of massive creature. Maybe a dragon or some other fire fawn or something like that. And he's all blue, but yes, this thing is supposed to be able to kill gods. The God Killer. I don't know that I like the little tail at the back. It just seems a little bit small. But that is the God Killer. Okay. Jean Paul. Brazil. Oh, where is our fiendishly frost giant male? Hashnag or hashtag? No, I'm not going to show off hashnag or hashtag today. This is a gelatinous cube. They put this out not so long ago, but I thought I'd pull it out. We made a gelatinous cube not so long ago. What I like most about this is the fact that it's designed for putting a miniature inside, like so, and you can see the bones and skulls and so forth, and the equipment that has been decomposed or eaten by the gelatinous cube, and then you just stick this over the top, and then goodbye, see you later. Always nice to have one of these things. Gelatinous cube. All right, here we go. Next is the Foreman Painbringer. He brings pain because he has a chain whip. It's got like 3 chains with nasty looking, I don't know if you can tell, but these look like the heads of screaming individuals with pointy bits. And he looks absolutely bananas. Crazy guy. Weird sort of garb, you know. Who wears a green smock of some kind? Is it Bones? And now she's going to get the beat down. I think his whip is better than her whip. I don't think she stands a chance. So that's the Foreman Painbringer. Okay, moving on. We've got dragons. Let's bring another dragon in. Large green dragon. Now this is made for Pathfinder or by Paizo. It's a little bit weird because it feels more like a humanoid dragon rather than just a straight full-on dragon. Large size. I thought I'd show it to you because it's kind of cool. I haven't had a chance to use it that much. That's the only unfortunate aspect. But yes, pretty cool. Let's get on to an Eton. An Eton will eat you. Jack of Irons. So this one, I got this a really long time ago. I can't even remember what pack it was part of. 2 heads. One looks like he's in pain, and the other one just looks like he's distracted. But still a cool miniature, and you've got to have it eaten at some point, right? Here we go. It's only large size, it's not huge. But that is one of my Ettins. I do have another Ettin, which I picked up about the same time. This one has probably got a much better sculpt on the face. So he's a bit more barbarian in nature. So he's got his own personal homemade weapon, and he's wearing what looks like a skull as either as a fisticuff or as a shield maybe. And one is bald and one is just more like a hippie. The other one's like black hair, long hair, and he's the hippie. Each one of them got pretty good teeth on them, good eyes. Neat miniature. I've used this a couple of times. Very good. And that is the back end. Okay, one Ettin. Okay, next up we've got the Marad. Is it Marad? Marad. It is a Marad. Marad, large size, trident, blue guy, more about water than anything else, and got himself, it's not really a kilt, it's more like a seaweed kilt really. I'd call it a seaweed kilt. Not a great sculpt, but really an unusual miniature. You don't really get too many of these, which is why I've hung on to it for as long as I have, rather than trade it in for something else. I try to avoid trading the older miniatures because you can't get them later on. It's over once they get too old. That's it. You can't find them. Foul Spawn Hulk. The Foul Spawn Hulk. This is, imagine your skin was torn off, and the only thing that was left was the muscle and sinew and a whole bunch of veins full of purple blood. Yeah, kind of a little bit like the Red Skull from Captain America. That's what it reminds me of, is a little bit like that. So pretty nifty. Not as large as some of the large miniatures, but still an awesome looking miniature and fun. You put it down and people... The thing about the unusual ones that just look scary, players are never too sure what they're getting themselves into. Okay, next is the Astral Giant. This is a miniature that I think I put in one of my videos a little while back about knocking out creatures. And he's got himself a spear. You can see he's got a spear and a shield all ready to go. He's rocking that white beard. Obviously hasn't trimmed his eyebrows ever. And that long white hair gives him off. But he's traded in his feet for that, I don't know, some sort of translucent bit. Yeah, he's got no feet. Obviously he doesn't need feet. He's an astral giant. Why would they need feet? They don't need to walk anywhere. So, cool miniature though. Alright, we're on to a troll, the feral troll. This is quite an old one. I picked this up a while ago. This would be Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. And I picked up quite a few trolls at one point. This is my favourite because it doesn't have a weapon. It's just unarmed. And as it happens, it's got a bun on the end. Is that a bun or is that just a rat's tail? Does it look like a rat's tail or a bun to you? And of course, rocking the he's rocking his own fur. He's rocking somebody's fur anyway. Okay, Ramorhaz. Yes, I do. I have a Ramorhaz. This is the giant centipede creature that is heated and does electrical damage and generally just causes all sorts of strife. Many legs, huge size, little whisker. No, you wouldn't call them whiskers. Not really a whisker. Really hard to find something like this, you know. This is the sort of miniature that I think they should reprint, because the last time I saw this was so many years ago I can't even count. And we can't even get a small one, a baby one. But who wants the baby one? I want the big one. I want the mother or the father. Ramorhaz. Okay, this is a very old miniature. Never used it before. The Nightwalker. It's kind of strange because it reminds me of sort of like a nightmare. It's huge size. It's enormous. It doesn't have very many features on it, and it's just really muscly. I'm not entirely sure that it's the most interesting monster, but I've kept it because I thought one day I will have a use for it. Okay. The Chili Maker 101. Hello, how are you? And Mr. Night Walker will say goodbye to you. One day I will find a use for him. I just haven't so far. Okay, moving along. The Storm Range Shambler. You've got to have a shambler. This is like the compost bin that tries, or compost pile that tries to eat you. Hi Brad, how's it going? This thing has got a bunch of tentacles. This is the sort of miniature I would really like to make at some point. I don't know if you can necessarily see everything. It's got very few features. It's just got lots of texture and leaves, and I don't know what's stuck to its backside, but it's maybe it's a stone. Maybe it's a stone. Yeah, really cool. I like the idea that a compost pile could try to devour you and then process you down. Okay, next we have a war devil. Got to have a war devil at some point. I don't have a lot of devils. Okay, I'm doing alright as it happens, Chili Maker 101. So war devil, I've got a bunch of these. It's got a trident, or you could call it a war fork. Some nice wings, large size, and this was quite an old miniature too. Pumped out, I would say roughly about 3.5. And as it happens, I've always wanted to use these, and I did. I used them quite a lot in a campaign called the Umbra campaign. They joined the circus, the Umbra circus. Okay, Zombie Hulk, or think Zombie Ogre. I think this is a good reflection of the Zombie Ogre, and this is, we want more Zombie Ogres because we never have enough Zombie Ogres anywhere. So you can see it's got a bit of rotting flesh, exposed meat and bone, and it just looks nasty. It's got its own beard too. It's like a grandpa. Maybe it could be a grandpa. Maybe that's when it died. Okay, let's move that out of the way. Trent, enjoying the stream, Fred. Cheers, you are welcome. I thought I would do something crazy. And this is the strangest thing I've ever done. Is this the strangest? No, there'll probably be more things. Selmad the Troll King. Yes, Warren of the Trolls. It was a Dungeons and Dragons 4E adventure. This miniature was printed for that particular version of the game. Don't get it. Give me a hard time. I know Dungeons and Dragons 4E was not taken well, but there was nothing wrong with the miniatures, and they produced lots of them. So yes. He's got one eye. One eye is red. It's like a magical ruby that you can pull out and does all sorts of things. And obviously he's ready to cut firewood. That's why he's got his axe. Or is he just going to split her right down? Okay, moving that out of the way. The Chili Maker 101, only if I had a mini collection. Well, you are going to have a mini collection because I'm sure you're going to follow some of my how to make your own miniatures, and then you will have. Cyclops. This Cyclops, look, I like Cyclopses. I do feel like this Cyclops has been shrunk a little bit. He does seem a little bit small. I like the fact that he's got a great axe. You know, that the two-sided axe is always nice, and it's a nice sculpt. It's just not big enough. It's what were they thinking? But I'm keeping it. Going to keep it. If I don't have doubles up, then it's staying with me. How's it going, Brad? Hey, Fred, love the stream. Got robbed a few years back. Oh, and I was relieved of a couple of 100 minis as they were in tackle boxes and toolboxes. Man, I miss my old D&D minis. Oh, look, I'm really sorry to hear that. That sucks, man. It's always a bugger when somebody does that, eh? All right, another troll. And this is the War Troll. This is also a Dungeons and Dragons 4E miniature, pumped out quite a long time ago, and got a big shield for taking those hits, and a sword. He looks grumpy. He kind of reminds me of Bad Jelly the Witch. It kind of has that face of Bad Jelly the Witch, and then the spiked armor, which is obviously incomplete because he just decides to wear pads. He's just protecting the bits he's worried about. Why is there nothing where his back is? You know, he's tied up his hair. He's rocking. I mean, the hair's nice, but there's nothing to protect his back. Okay. Oh well, that's where we're going to stab him. Okay, moving on. Smash Bro 99, my favourite troll. So badass. Yeah, he's pretty badass. Okay, next is the Cloud Giant. This is quite an old Cloud Giant. I can't even remember what version of the game. He's got himself a Morning Star. Is it a Morning Star? Or is it a mace? A spiked mace? May call it a spiked mace. He's all white. He's got that mustache that says, I know lots of stuff. And I like the cape effect. He's actually got two capes. He's got two layers. It's like a cape followed by I don't know, as a robe of some kind. Yeah, kind of weird, but still cool. Still like it. If you guys notice that I'm not putting it in the frame, you make sure that I stick it in the frame so you can see it properly. But yeah, I like this miniature. I've used this a couple of times. This thing is absolutely weird as. It's a Yathan, and it's for Paizo or Pathfinder. It's got like suckers and grabby pincer things. Two weird looking eyes coming off it's got like an elongated neck of some kind. As monsters go, this is a monster. This is really strange. And then, what is this? Does he talk with it? Does he have like tendril talking? He's got three eyes. I don't know if you can tell, but look, 1, 2, 3 eyes. Just to make sure the only place he doesn't have an eyeball is right behind him. That's where he needs one. It's how fast does this thing move? Probably like 5 feet. Probably not very fast. Okay, next we have, I got another Trent. This is a really old Trent, put out 2004, and as you can see, it is not quite as detailed and cool as the newer one. It's really robust, so it's not going to break. And I've used this for Treebeard in a game. I sort of made myself a friendly Trent. That's what you do, right? Is you make a tree that they can talk to, just so that you can get them to talk to vegetables. So what I did, I'm going to just put this here, and you can compare. See, the older one and the newer one in comparison, it's no contest. The newer one is just far superior, and the newer one looks a lot. Surprisingly, it looks a lot like Treebeard from Lord of the Rings. For those of you who haven't spotted that, that's what I think anyway. So we'll put that out of the way. It's the Trent. Okay, yeah, Trent, what's that? Fred, what do you use to transport my minis? I actually got a video on that. I use plastic containers. The bigger the container, the better, because I've got so many. So if you have small containers, it just doesn't work. I find that you have to have large ones. Okay, the Iron Golem Juggernaut. So this is huge size. I have a large size one, same sort of mold. Nasty looking sword, looks like he's got a fist, he's ready to pound you, and honestly doesn't look like you could get through this armor. Yeah. Cool sculpt though, I really like it. Certainly I like it a lot more than the new Iron Golem that they pumped out just recently. That looks more like a rusted Iron Golem rather than an actual Iron Golem. Because why would an Iron Golem rust? It's magical. It can't be damaged by most things unless it's, you've got an adamantium weapon that's magical or something like that. So, pretty cool miniature. Okay, next. Githyanki riding a dragon. This is a Githyanki Dragon Knight. I've had this for years. I thought at one point I had given it away, which would have been a big mistake on my part. But really cool miniature. And easily to store because it's kind of condensed. Everything is sort of in the one place. It's not sort of hanging out the edge, which is why I like it. Anything that's riding a dragon is going to be fun. Honestly, anything that's riding a dragon is going to be fun. All right, now let's get on to bats. This is a dire bat, a large size dire bat, pumped out for Paizo or Pathfinder. And this thing looks scary. Now, in the past, I would have said, dire bat, not that exciting, probably not that scary. Why would you bother? But this makes a big difference. Now I'm convinced. And the stalk on it so far has not broken. It's a good, strong stalk. It hasn't come apart or snapped off. Okay, just drinking some water. And next we got the Brutal Ogre Warhawk. The Brutal Ogre Warhawk. So he's got himself nice looking weapon. There's the Morning Star, ready to rock it up, swing it around and take it to somebody. Cool miniature. I've got a bunch of ogres of varying sculpts. You can never have enough ogres. Ogres are things that at a certain point you want to sort of pump them out like goblins and orcs, right? And which is why I've tried to collect as many different types as possible. Next, this one's really weird. You guys are going to get a shock by this. This is actually called a marsh giant. I don't know, this is a Pathfinder or Paizo miniature. And he looks like he's got a stick with a bit of hooked wire. I don't think the weapon is going to be terribly effective, but the miniature itself, is this what a marsh giant looks like? Fat, bulbish, black talons, and whatever he's wearing, I don't quite understand what the deal with that was. He's only covering one shoulder. Who knows why that is? It kind of reminds me of, think the old movie Krull and those weird creatures that reside inside, the changelings. It's got those same sort of eyes on it. Okay, Smash Bro 99. That's just his toothpick, I think. Yeah, an improvised weapon. Yeah, it is a toothpick. It seems like a toothpick to me. This is a frost giant pumped out by Wizards of the Coast for Dungeons and Dragons. You guys have probably seen this before. This came out with part of the Icon of the Realm. It's a good miniature. I feel like all they needed to do was stick it on a bigger base and we would have been quite happy with this as a giant. An axe, a shield. Feels Norwegian. All the fur on him. But I love the helmet and the big spikes sticking out of it. I've got quite a few of these. I've got another frost giant, but this one is a she, and this is even better. The big double axe and the helmet, the long hair, you can see the hair draping over, a lot of muscularity, decent armor, although probably not terribly practical. But I like the warm coat on the back. And I've got about 2 or 3 of these things, which means that I can field a encounter with male and female frost giants, which I thought was a nice addition. And she's covered in bling too. Not so much gold, she's more into silver apparently. Okay, this is a newer Eton. Wizards of the Coast pumped it out not so long ago. It got a spiked club and what looks like a bone axe or whippy thing. This, in terms of an Eton, when you compare it, this Eton and the face and the sculpt and the beard and just what it looks like and its size compared to the older ones, you have a look at this. There's the new one. Here's the older ones that I had. And you can see there is a significant difference in quality from one to the other, and a different focus, which is pretty cool. Still, let's move them out of the way and keep rocking along. Okay, next on my list, I'm just keeping everything in a row so I don't get confused. Oh, this is weird. This is a drowning devil. A drowning devil with wings. This thing is under the water. It swims. It doesn't... What is it? What does it look like? It's just covered in things that are sort of like snuffleupagus. Does it seem like... No, it's not like a snuffleupagus. It's got horns. It's kind of like a snaky fish creature thingy. You can see it's got a tail at the back here. The wings are weird. I don't quite understand why you need wings if you are swimming water. And then it really doesn't have hands. How would you eat with these? There's no way you could. It's impossible. The clay golem. Getting a clay golem is pretty difficult. I've got about 2 or 3 of these clay golems, and basically it's a golem that just seems to be melting. Yeah, that's essentially what seems to be taking place. I've used this as a wax golem as well, so I've used it as a stand-in for that. Wax golems, man, the
Pathfinder wax golem is just awesome. Really, really scary, particularly if you use the same stat block for Dungeons and Dragons 5e, which is exactly what I did. Okay, next I have a Yeti. This is a newer miniature, came out with one of the Icons of the Realms miniature lines, and he reminds me of the Fonzie, you know, hey, yeah, hey, how's it is, and it's like leading with the front. It doesn't seem like a good idea, but I still like it. There aren't too many Yetis that you can actually get. This is one of the few Yetis I've been able to find. I like the Yeti. Okay, we're on to elementals, and man, these are either large or huge. So I've got a large ice elemental, quite an older miniature, all spiky. I actually had another one on a different base, but unfortunately it disappeared on me. Like many things, sometimes they just get lost in transition. You can barely make out its face, but think Frozen and the ice creature that threw them down the stairs. That's essentially what this thing is. Pretty cool. It's not a snowman, he's an ice creature, but very nice. I've used that a few times. This is I believe it is a Thunder Blast Cyclone. Thunder Blast. So if you want to use a cyclone that is sentient in your adventure, this is the miniature to have. Essentially, it is just a giant cyclone that moves around, sucking you around and then throwing you out, spitting you out, breaking your furniture, taking down your house, things like that. Horrible things. Horrible, but very cool miniature. Okay, next we have a large air elemental. This is what the Elemental Evil miniatures line should have had. They should have had these size miniatures. Large size, decent. The base is quite small, but the miniature itself is just fantastic. Yeah. And he's spirally thing. Cool. Alright, moving on. I'm going to stick with the elementals. I've got some really weird stuff coming next. Large water elemental. That's a water elemental. Not that silly thing they did in the Elemental Evil Icons of the Realms. It looks scary, it looks angry, it looks like it's about to grab somebody. You can see the water effects are quite nice. Slightly translucent with paint, and you can see the back of it as well. This is the sort of miniature we should have been getting. And it's I think it was produced by Pathfinder or Paizo. I highly recommend buying the Pathfinder or Paizo miniatures. They are awesome. A lot of their sculpts are much better. I hate to say it, but it's true. And this is a good example of why they often are. The Clockwork Reliquary. The Clockwork Reliquary. So, isn't this weird, man? It's got some. It looks like it's got some round balls on top. I'm not gonna say what that's supposed to represent. It's got 4 mechanical arms, shoulder pads, and 3 strange sort of mechanical legs to move it around. And inside, it's got a tube, and that's a skeleton inside there, man. That's literally a skeleton. Brad, those are cool looking ogres. Yes, the ogres are pretty cool. This is one of my favourite miniatures. This is what I put up against my players, and I created a stat block for it, and it was so much fun. It was just awesome. Cool, eh? Alright, moving on. Grab something else. We're not finished. Next is the Dragoloth Aberration. Abomination. No, Dragoloth Abomination. So I think Dryder, but male. This is like a spider creature. He's got hair. He's used hairspray to get that puffy look. And he's ready to grab something and probably eat them. Yeah, probably eat them or suck their blood. That would be my guess. Cool miniature. I think I've used this in one of the videos that I did on grappling. Spider creatures are always fun. I don't like spiders, but I like spider creatures. Who wouldn't? There's nothing not to like about spider creature. Okay, let's go on to the large astral construct. I picked this up because I've never seen anything like it. I don't know where it was produced. I have no idea. One hand is sort of looks like well, is that a hand? It's just like 3 bits, but the other side has got a sledgehammer. It's like it can form its own weapons. Think Terminator 3 or Terminator 2, where they could reform their body and create weapons from their form. And it's covered in spikes. It's a little bit like the rhino. He's got a horn as well for bucking you. Alright, moving on. Next up is the Lilith. Is it Lilith? Lilith. She's this is the sort of thing I like. It's got wings. It's got a tail. It obviously swims. She's looked after her hair, even though it's green. And a little sword. Clearly somebody was basing this off Princess Leia from Return of the Jedi. Okay, it's showing plenty. Okay, moving on. Next is the rune. Is it no rune? No, it's the Rem Hound. The Rem Hound. This is a huge size wolf, essentially. This is great. I don't think I've got a hound or wolf-like creature as large as this, which is why I've hung on to it, and I'm never going to find another one like it otherwise. This is just awesome. And they've tried to highlight it. There's nothing much back there, just a tail. So yeah, the Rem Hound. Okay, I have many Chimera. Is it Chimera? This is the bone-chilled one. So this thing has a goat's head, a lion's head, and a dragon head. And I don't know what it was. At some point, I just seemed to accrue masses of these things. Different types, but just more and more Chimera. And it's got a tail as well. Obviously wings because it flies. Don't stick this thing on the ground. Don't let it get killed up close. That would be just silly. Don't do that. Okay, next up is the Noble Salamander. This is the fellow who rocks it down at your local fire pit or in lava, hides in lava, then throws his javelin and pierces you. And then burns you, probably, or the environment burns you. I like the fact that it's covered in black sort of spikes. And obviously, it almost seems like it's made of fire. It can certainly live in fire. A fire being, it's obviously a fire elemental of some kind. The salamander. Okay, this is super strange. This is a seaweed siren. Why is there explosions taking on outside? Somebody letting off fireworks or just blowing stuff up? Okay, so this thing has a weird body. It's like the body is the head, and then it's got 3 like heads coming off that are screaming. It's kind of like a crab. It's all sort of crab-like, and it's got green hair flowing down it. This is a Pathfinder monster. And this is why I like the Pathfinder monsters so much, because they do such strange and odd things. Okay, next. Let's do a large fire elemental. Actually pretty hard to find fire elementals, but this is another miniature we should have a go at making, because elementals got to be pretty simple to make. Can't be that hard. Yeah, Siren of the Seaweed. Yes. Skull and Shackles. That'll be the one. Yes, correct. So this is the only large fire elemental that I have, and I would love to have more. I just don't. It's not a great sculpt. I honestly have to say it's not a great sculpt. Let's move that on though. Okay, next I've got a glass golem. And this is part of, I don't know what it's part of. I think it's part of Paizo. Yep, Paizo. And she's made of glass, apparently. You see the translucent effect, and those hands are given way to what look like 3 nasty knives. Think Edward Scissorhands. Yeah. Cool sculpt. Kind of delicate. I've had to be a bit careful about how I store it. But pretty nice. Who would have thought of making a glass golem? Paizo and Pathfinder, that's what. Okay. Let's move on. Let's let's see. Next, here we go. Now this is what I really like. This is the brass golem. Now the brass golem is basically, it looks like a minotaur with an axe, and obviously it's made out of brass. It's a construct. But there was a movie many years ago called Sinbad and Eye of the Tiger, and there was a brass minotaur golem in it. That was the protector for the main villains. And this is what this miniature reminds me of. So I've had a lot of fun, hung on to this as long as I possibly could. I've tried to grab more of them, but I just can't. It's just one of those things. They, like I said, when things go out of print, that's it, you just can't get them. But that is the minotaur. Now I've been saving this for the last. This is not all the miniatures that I've got. I just try to cover my desk with as many as I possibly could. This fellow is called Mephistopheles. God, who cares? Okay, it's a devil. Okay, he's got himself his trident or his fork. He's got those. He's rocking those big wings. He's got his gown. He's looking pretty regal, and he's looking pretty evil. And I've used this to represent Asmodeus a couple of times. Really cool miniature. Just not an opportunity to use it very much, because it's like high-level play using something like this. Okay, what's that? Antonio, you said Dancer Boral Valley. All right. The Nine Hells take you. Yes. Oh, it's Blanco. Blanco's here. Now, for those of you who don't know, Blanco runs a channel on miniatures, and he's probably catching up to me in terms of subscribers. I know he does a lot better in terms of views, but you need to go over to his channel because he always does really good stuff. Smash Bro 99, that's a cool one. How you spell the name? I need it. Okay, I'll spell it to you. Okay, fair enough. I'll spell it to you. How's it going, Sebastian? Okay, so this is spelt Mephistopheles. I'm terrible with names. You guys know this. Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles? Okay. I don't know. What is it? Ghost Rider? That guy. That name. The name from there. Blanco, you're welcome. I should always be promoting your channel. Particularly since I did so well on the where to buy cheap Dungeons & Dragons miniatures. Of course, we both know there's really no such thing anymore. Yeah, it is a great miniature. Hey, look, I think this is a good point to stop. Somebody said, can we see your miniatures sometime? So I've tried to pull out as many of the larger ones as I possibly can. And that's it. You've got it. It's pretty close. The spelling's about right. I'll put the spelling down in the description for those of you who want to know. So I think what we're going to do is call it quits here. I've shown you my large, huge, and some gargantuan miniatures. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. I know it's a very unusual stream for me, and certainly I don't think it's something that people normally do. But I still want to reiterate that if you guys ask for stuff, I usually will try to do it unless it's really difficult to do and I can't live stream it. Cypher Strife, what do you got here? I actually found how to D&D through watching Blanco's videos. Oh, really? Oh, that's nice. That's good. Cool. All right, look, I'm going to sign off and say my usual thing, which is, hey, if you found this video helpful or informative, please share, like, and subscribe. And also, when you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell button so you get notifications when I go live. And on top of that, when I publish a new video, I'm going to be going on holiday, so you might not get quite so many videos over the next couple of days, maybe 2 days as such. And on top of that, if you want to support my channel, watch more of my videos. Go on, watch more of them. Why not? They're there. I have many of them. And I get a bit of AdSense revenue from it. Down in the description, you'll find an affiliate link. I don't do Patreon. And you can buy stuff online, pay exactly the same price, and I get a small commission. On top of that, too, look, if you have questions about any of these things, or you have some requests of stuff you would like me to show you, then I will absolutely do that. You know me, I will try to please you if I can. If I can, I will do it.
Where is my dice? Can I find my big 20-sided dice? Apparently not. Oh, what's that, Blanco? Yes, you got it. Blanco's got it. Exactly. Lord of Cain. Number 29. The expert in miniatures would always know exactly where it came from. And Blanco is the expert in miniatures. I'm just trying to shuffle things around a little bit. Anyway, thank you, Blanco. I'm hoping that I will get things right with my live streams. Trying to get the live stream sorted out correctly is always a tricky one. But anyway, as I said, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.